on the subcommittee be permitted to sit with the subcommittee at today's hearing and ask questions. Without objection, so ordered. As a reminder, please keep your microphones muted unless speaking. Should I hear any inadvertent background noise, I will request that the member please mute their microphone. And to insert a document into the record, please have your staff email it to documentsti@mail.house.gov. Good morning and welcome to today's hearing on enhancing personnel resources to support a stronger, more resilient Coast Guard. Today we are joined by Admiral Linda Fagan, the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard, who will provide insight on the state of the Coast Guard workforce, areas where more resources should be targeted for the benefit of its personnel, and challenges that exist in the time of shifting workforce dynamics. First, Admiral Fagan, congratulations on your new role as Commandant of the Coast Guard. I know you're going to do an amazing job. You've already been doing an amazing job, so welcome and congratulations. I am confident that your wealth of knowledge and the experience will make you an excellent leader, and I trust that the future of the Coast Guard is in good hands, better than good hands, excellent hands. The Coast Guard is our country's primary maritime law enforcement agency. It oversees a diverse array of responsibilities, including search and rescue, protecting the marine environment, securing vessels, ports, and waterways, and supporting the free flow of 5.4 trillion of goods through the maritime transportation system. Despite the critical role the Coast Guard plays in our national security, economy, and ensuring the safety of lives at sea, the Coast Guard is the second smallest branch in the military, and chronic divestments in the Coast Guard has forced them to do more with less. Unfortunately, this has resulted in deficiencies in the support and benefits offered to service members and their families, including housing, healthcare, and childcare. We must do more to improve the lives of these hardworking individuals by providing the quality care they deserve. Due to the nature of Coast Guard missions, Coast Guard stations are often based in coastal cities with higher than average coastal costs. For some, the basic allowance for housing is insufficient, and service members are forced to either make up the difference of costly rent prices with their personal funds or commute unacceptable distances. I have heard from many of my constituents that the basic allowance for housing has been insufficient to meet the high housing costs in the central coast of California. As a result, many have had to move to areas that can be over an hour commute. Most of the members stationed at United States Coast Guard Station Morro Bay are living outside the emergency 20-minute recall area because housing costs are too expensive for their basic allowance for housing. I'm looking forward to learning more about the Coast Guard, how the Coast Guard can address the lack of affordable housing for coasties and their families. It also has come to my attention that much of the military-provided housing is in dire need of renovation. I'd like to hear more about the Coast Guard's plans to address these shortcomings. Additionally, I'm very interested in how to improve healthcare access for Coast Guard personnel. Some Coast Guard stations are located in remote areas, some of which I have visited, with extremely limited access to basic healthcare services like dental or general practitioners. The Coast Guard's role in law enforcement and first response requires considerable mental and physical resilience. I'm concerned that the service only has 20 health professionals and is understaffed in its medical clinics and sick bays. The search and rescue mission places a heavy toll on the mental health of service members, who often face traumatic experiences. One study showed that service members with depression or PTSD were nearly 25% more likely to leave the service. In order to sufficiently fulfill their duties in the Coast Guard, service members must be able to access medical services to care for their own physical and mental health. Similarly, access to childcare is crucial for long-term retention of personnel and quality of life for both service members and their families. Providing adequate childcare is especially important in retaining female personnel who face unique barriers to promotional opportunities. Recruiting and retaining personnel is imperative for the success of the Coast Guard. It is in all branches of as it is in all branches of the military. I'm interested to hear about the Coast Guard's plans to recruit and retain personnel with a particular focus on diversity and inclusion in the coming years. Despite the Coast Guard's efforts to improve representation of women and minorities within its workforce, their services still struggles to reflect the demographics of the nation, and it is the least diverse branch of the military. We must build on the efforts being made to recruit and retain diverse personnel, as well as ensure that these demographics are representative in leadership roles. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Coast Guard adapted by offering increased flexibility and remote work options. Many employees continue to want this flexibility moving forward, and it will be important to carefully consider how to recruit and retain diverse personnel in a modern work environment. Lastly, I want to highlight the great strides the service has made in sexual assault and sexual harassment response, partly due to the insistence of Congress. However, this continues to be a pervasive problem. The annual sexual assault report from the Coast Guard was due over 6 months ago. We must hold the Coast Guard accountable and look forward to receiving this report in the near future. Service members have always been at the core of the service, and without them, mission success would not be possible. I look forward to hearing from Admiral Fagan about how we can best support personnel to strengthen our Coast Guard. I ask unanimous consent to insert a statement from the Governance Accountability Office into the hearing record without objection. And now I will call on Ranking Member of the subcommittee, Ranking Member Gibbs, for an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Carbajal. Admiral Fagan, it is a pleasure to have you here today for first testimony before the committee as Commandant. Congratulations. I know you earned it, for sure. Much progress has been made, and as your first female service chief. However, I believe you are also the first Commandant with primarily a Marine safety background, or at least the first such Commandant in a long time. I look forward to working with you to bring more attention to the Coast Guard's marine safety programs, which have gotten less attention over the last 15 years, as attention has been focused on crucially important recapitalization of the service's ocean-going and air assets. In 2008, the Coast Guard undertook a structural reorganization called modernization. It established a deputy commandant positions for mission support and operations, logistics centers for ships, IT and personnel, and sectors and bases. Unfortunately, the fall on the Coast Guard-wide manpower requirement analysis and determinations that were to complete the modernization process have lagged substantially behind the structural changes. I hope to hear today what actions as the new Commandant your plans are to take complete these analysis and determinations. I'm also interested in what progress is being made on ensuring that members of the Coast Guard with ship operating experience are able to convert that experience to receive Coast Guard issued mariner licenses as part of the military to mariners initiatives. Given our current shortage of mariners for national defense sea lift, we should encourage Coast Guard and Navy mariners to get licenses if they wish to do so. Finally, I look forward to hearing whether the Coast Guard is having the same issues finding recruits that the other armed services are facing, and if the low unemployment rate is making it more difficult to retain service members. Thank you, Chairman Carbajal. I look forward to the Commandant's testimony, and I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Gibbs. Now I would like to recognize the Chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Mr. DePazio.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for this. And Admiral Fagan, welcome to your first formal presentation. Congratulations again. And I'm really pleased to see that your intention is to make the workforce your highest priority. And as the ranking member just mentioned, we've finally begun to invest in capitalization of assets that the Coast Guard needs. That's been quite a struggle getting to the icebreakers and the other things. You know, we're still obviously, you know, in terms of our shoreside facilities, which impact your workforce dramatically, way, way, way behind, and that's something that Congress needs to do better in terms of finding funds for you. I mean, it's great when I go visit stations and I see, oh yeah, the crew here just renovated the station themselves. I mean, I don't think if you go onto a Marine or I was in the Air Force or Army base that you find that the troops are doing that kind of work. They bring in contractors. So, I mean, I love the attitude of the Coast Guard, but we've really got to do better by that. So housing, issues about child care. I'm really going to be interested to hear, how you're hoping to meet the recruiting challenges in this very difficult environment. I mean, according to what staff wrote here, in a survey, only 9% of eligible young people in America are interested in service at this point in time, although I think the Coast Guard, might be able to offer something different if we can educate the young people about the opportunities for the Coast Guard. That's that I'm going to be very interested to hear about that. And then there's a 2020 GAO report about manpower requirements determinations, and only a small portion of the workforce has been assessed, and that's problematic because that means that we're really not quite sure what some of the needs are in some of the disciplines and elsewhere. Could lead to overloading people, which might push them toward deciding not to re-up or early retire if they're eligible, and other things. So I'm really looking forward to your testimony, and in particular, I hope you will highlight what Congress could do better to help you deal with these issues. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to now welcome the witness, Admiral Linda Fagan, the 27th Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. Thank you for being here today, and I look forward to your testimony. Without objection, our witness' full statement will be included in the record. Since your written testimony has been made a part of the record, the subcommittee requests that you limit your oral testimony to 5 minutes. Admiral Fagan, you may proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Carbajal, Ranking Member Gibbs, distinguished members of the subcommittee, and thank you for accepting my written testimony into the record. Thank you for the opportunity to describe my vision for the Coast Guard, and I would like to thank Congress for your enduring support of the United States Coast Guard workforce. For nearly 232 years, the Coast Guard has provided safety, security, economic prosperity for the American people. Our workforce lives and serves in communities along the Atlantic, Gulf, Pacific, and Arctic coast, on the Great Lakes, and along our inland rivers. And we are trusted to perform essential missions. Our workforce is the heartbeat of the Coast Guard, and without them, we cannot execute missions. My highest priority as Commandant is to transform our talent management system, which has not significantly changed in 75 years, to better serve our people in the 21st century. We will deploy innovative practices to recruit people from across our great nation who are service-oriented, have a high sense of purpose, and best represent every facet of our nation's diversity. And like the other armed services, the Coast Guard is facing a recruiting challenge as we compete for talent in a shrinking population of young people with a propensity for military service. We will overcome that challenge by highlighting the opportunity to do meaningful work every day in service to the American public. Once a person has joined the Coast Guard, we will retain them by providing greater career flexibility and opportunities for geographic stability, eliminating policy barriers that make it difficult for some to continue to serve. Even more importantly, we will provide them and their family access to high-quality housing, health care, and child care that they deserve. Thank you to the support of Congress, we've tripled the number of Coast Guard children enrolled in our child care subsidy programs. That allows our workforce to arrange child care that works for their individual family needs, where that means care either near their workplace or near their home. We have invested in the physical and mental wellness of our people. To address the unique medical needs of our crews at remote units, we have deployed mobile medical readiness teams that bring doctors and technicians directly to them. Our workforce at these remote units have benefited from significant increases in medical readiness, without taking time away from duty to travel to distant medical providers. We've also increased training for our independent duty corpsmen to enable them to better recognize and respond to patients' mental health needs. We're pursuing new agreements with Navy's Medical Education and Training Campus to include Coast Guard students in the Professional Behavioral Health Technician School, further enhancing our medical staff's ability to care for our workforce's mental health needs. We continue to focus on diversity and inclusion. Our leaders will provide our entire workforce a strong sense of belonging, so every individual is valued, safe, and able to deliver their best service to the nation. The variable and unpredictable operational challenge our units and people encounter every day demand new thinking. An inclusive workforce with diverse experiences, perspectives, and ideas is better equipped to succeed. Taking advantage of new technologies, we will improve our personnel data systems so we can make well-informed human resource decisions. Data and a modern Reading learning system will enable our field leaders to provide the right training and professional development opportunities to every individual as they progress through their careers. I'm committed to pursuing transformational change in the way we recruit, retain, and support our workforce. It is our people who execute Coast Guard missions. As Commandant, I am humbled to have the responsibility for operating and advocating for the service. I'm committed to our workforce. I look forward to working with Congress as we navigate the Coast Guard into the future. Chairman Carbajal, Ranking Member Gibbs, distinguished members, it is truly a privilege to appear before you today. I thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral Fagan. We will now move on to member questions. Each member will be recognized for 5 minutes, and I will start by recognizing Chairman DeFazio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Admiral. The issue of retention, how do you already have do you have a clear idea of what you're going to do to help improve retention? I mean, are you going to have longer rotations or otherwise better accommodate people, particularly people who might have children, in terms of where they're stationed and that? I mean, do you have enough flexibility with the force to do those sorts of things? Are you looking at those sorts of things?
Thank you. We are looking at any and all policies that we use right now with regard to how we manage the workforce. I would highlight, and I know we'll talk to some of the recruiting challenges. Retention is not a particular challenge for the organization right now. Once people are brought into the organization, we are able to retain them. But I am committed to making it easier for those who are serving to continue to serve. And so any rigid assignment policy, move policies that makes that challenging for families to thrive and for our members to serve is part of the work that we've stepped off into as an organization, and I have a sense of urgency around this. I do not believe we've got any authorities impediment to that. This is policy that we need to get after and update for our workforce.
So retention isn't, at this point, you don't think you're managing to retain people?
We're continuing to retain people at the historic high rates that we've retained people, and so at this point I am not concerned about retention, but I'm very focused on recruiting.
All right, that's great. Now on the recruiting side, obviously it's a huge challenge. What sort of innovative things are you looking at, or what kinds of outreach? I mean, I mean, your goal was 4,200 this year, I think. How close are you to that?
So we have, we've surged resources into the recruiting mission space. We've hired an additional 15 recruiters. We've reassigned people who were previously qualified as recruiters into, as surge staff around recruiting. We've stood up an integrated team with a one-star in charge of it to bring the total capability of the organization to bear as we look at recruiting. We're about 1,100 short overall in our in the non-rate workforce right now, and we're absolutely focused on bringing the recruiter capability to the people who have a mind to serve. And we're again, sense of urgency. We need to we're working hard to improve those numbers now.
Okay, and then how about the issues with childcare. I mean, I know nationwide childcare is a problem now. I would assume that the Coast Guard is experiencing similar issues in terms of finding qualified childcare providers.
So we really appreciate the support of Congress with regard to child care subsidies to allow increased flexibilities for our families. And so, whether it's subsidies, child care centers, or, other opportunities to provide just flexibility and access for our families. And we continue to look for ways to ensure that Coast Guard members are able to access quality child care that's affordable so that they can focus on the mission that we ask of them.
Okay, and then how about off-base housing stipends or whatever allowances, I guess we call them? How are we doing there? I mean, even places like Coos Bay, Oregon now, rents have run up extraordinarily. So, I mean, for those who choose to or have to live off-base, how are we doing there?
So we utilize the same system that the other military services use for determining BAH, basic allowance for housing. There's been a significant sort of shift or disruption in the housing market in the United States writ large, and our service members are certainly feeling that as they move to new duty stations. So we continue to engage with DoD and look forward to the opportunity of working with you and Congress on ways to reduce that lag time and ensure that our military families are able to access affordable quality housing. We do operate some of our own Coast Guard housing. We've got 2,600 housing units around the country, and seeking sort of diverse access to housing, and whether it's the BAH rates or our own housing units, we again are working to remove that as a challenge for our families. But it has been a challenging transfer season.
Okay, thank you. Chair, my time's expired.
Thank you, Chairman DeFazio. I will now recognize Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Chairman. Talk about recruitment, retention, everything. What requirements did the Coast Guard place on its members in regard to COVID-19 vaccine?
So the COVID-19 vaccine is a requirement for Coast Guard members. It's a general lawful order that's been.
Okay. How many members were discharged because they did not receive the vaccine?
We've involuntarily discharged 107 members for failing to get the COVID-19 vaccine.
Okay. We've seen that the vaccine, and Dr. Fauci has concurred with this, that it didn't protect overly well from infection, but it does protect quite well against severe disease leading to hospitalization and death. Since this data has come to light, is the Coast Guard considering lifting the vaccine requirement, or is that over your head from the administration to be able to do that?
I do not have the authority to lift the vaccine requirement. Okay. Should that change, we welcome the opportunity to welcome back members that are in compliance with whatever the medical requirement is.
Has the vaccine requirement been an issue for recruitment? Has that come up much?
It is not an issue for recruitment.
Okay, so you haven't seen anything different demographics from different states and recruitment numbers?
No, and as we continue to recruit, right, all the recruits at Cape May are vaccinated. This is true for our other accession point, the Coast Guard Academy, as we onboarded that class recently, but everyone's vaccinated.
Good. On the southern border, has Coast Guard personnel been pulled from their normal duties to be placed at the southern border activities?
We have had Coast Guard personnel provided to the southwest border to support the efforts there. It's either been medical personnel to help with medical needs and processing, and then the other primary area that we're supporting at the southwest border is with our marine safety and security teams, the MSSTs, and as a riverine force to help provide additional presence on some of the waterways there associated with this.
So there's been quite a few of the health professionals, medical, that have been deployed, as you just said.
We have had our corpsmen deployed at the southwest border, yes.
Is that impacting your other activities, from your regular duties? How's that impacted that?
So it has had an impact on the corpsmen. We continue around our medical providers. We are, beyond the corpsman, looking at ways to increase the capacity of medical providers, diversify that medical staff, and then we are working to understand what our requirements are with regard particularly to the corpsmen as the demand for their services either at the southwest border or with our forward deployed cutters continues to increase, and you look forward to sharing that analysis.
I'm just curious on the medical personnel, what percentage would you think are been pulled off to the border?
I can give you the exact number, sir. I don't have them offhand.
Okay. We had the 2018 modernization structural changes were made. Congress required the Coast Guard to produce a manpower requirements plan, and the plan was submitted April 2018. It's called the Force Planning Construct based on manpower requirements determination. According to the GAO, the Coast Guard only made such determination for about 6% and of the 158 unit types by 2019. At that time, only 2% of the determinations were current. According to the GAO, the service has completed an additional 26 determinations as of February this year. What's the status of the force planning construct?
So, in preparing for coming today, I asked a number of questions of the organization regarding where are we with force planning, manpower requirement assessments, and frankly, I did not find the answer satisfying. We have work to do there. In the FY 2023 UPL, you'll see there's a $5 million that we've asked for in support. I don't believe we're adequately resourced now to do the critical work to understand our workforce requirements, and would welcome the opportunity to work with the committee so we've got the right structure in place to illuminate those workforce needs.
And I think also the reports to Congress, you were supposed to have a report to Congress earlier, and then you said it would be December of this year. What's the status of submitting that manpower requirements plan to Congress?
Yeah, we continue to work to be responsive to that reporting requirement. Again, the process has not proven to be particularly satisfying or responsive to myself, and I know to the committee, and we look forward to continuing to work to be responsive in that regard.
Okay, because I think that Congress asked for it, they should get that. I'll yield back on our time now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. I will now recognize myself. During my tour of the United States Coast Guard Station, Golden Gate, I learned about the incredible bravery Coasties stationed there demonstrate as they perform rescue missions all around the Bay Area, including rescues of individuals who jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge in an attempt to take their lives. These Coasties respond to such calls with great compassion and urgency, treating every call as a rescue and not a recovery, the latter of which is unfortunately the most common outcome. I listened as these Coasties spoke to the emotional and mental toll these missions take on them. Thankfully, because of the intensity of the rescue missions, the Coast Guard recently assigned a dedicated mental health specialist to Station Golden Gate. The Coast Guard currently only has 20 mental health specialists. Understanding the importance of mental health and wellness in the world of first responders, how can the Coast Guard build out a similar program at its other locations where the mission has an acute impact on the mental health of its workforce?
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, mental health is a growing and increasing concern across the force, across society. Specific to Station Golden Gate, that independent duty corpsman does go and attend. It's a Navy school that helps provide them the training in mental health care. I am pleased to tell you that we are very close to finalizing an agreement with the Navy that will provide access to that school for an additional 13 corpsmen a year. And so we are working to increase access to that training so that we can field it across the Coast Guard in a way that's responsive to the mental health needs of our workforce. And we are investing in hiring mental health professionals as well. This is a growing need, and we're moving to be supportive of our workforce in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. In the Coast Guard, the life of a cutterman can be difficult. They can feel incredibly distant and isolated from their loved ones while out at sea. Being able to connect via video calls like FaceTime or Zoom with family and friends can be a huge morale booster and lead to improved productivity. Furthermore, having access to reliable internet so that a member can take an online course or tend to personal affairs can improve retention in the service overall, but especially in the afloat community. With these concerns in mind, what, if any, technological improvements are being incorporated in the build-out of the new surface fleet, specifically the national security cutters and offshore patrol cutters, that will improve connectivity on these vessels while underway?
Thank you, Chairman. We have made great progress as an organization with regard to connectivity, particularly bandwidth access. Starting initially just critical need to communicate with the ships at sea. As more applications and systems go online, initial focus was absolutely on the operational necessity around increasing connectivity and bandwidth, increase training and other systems online. So we continue to move to improve connection speeds, connection bandwidth, and in further geographic areas as well. So it's an operational readiness issue, and as you correctly highlighted, it's a quality of life issue for our members, and we remain committed to improving that experience so that the folks that go to sea have a enjoyable experience and are able to continue to communicate with their families.
Thank you. In a recent visit to Base Kodiak, Alaska, I learned about several challenges facing coasties living there. For example, the Coast Guard will pay for the cost associated with shipping one vehicle when service members are transferred, but it is often necessary for a family to have two vehicles. And in Kodiak, there are no car dealerships. Further, I've come to learn that even when a cost of living allowance is allotted to these service members, their household budgets are insufficient to meet the high energy, internet, and childcare costs. What is the Coast Guard doing to assist struggling coasties and their families living in Alaska, and how can Congress support your efforts?
Thank you. We follow the joint travel requirements for vehicle shipping overseas, and we'll continue to look for opportunities to work with you to ensure that our members are able to seamlessly transfer to remote locations like Alaska. And we'll welcome opportunities to continue to ensure that we've got the entitlements and benefits appropriate to our families so they don't have to worry about indebtedness after we ask them to move. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on, and I recognize Representative Weber. Mr. Weber? We will move on to Representative Maliotakis.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Admiral, and congratulations on your success. And we're so happy to have a female leading the Coast Guard. And I just wanted to talk to you briefly about the cost of living as it pertains to New York in particular. My district is home for Coast Guard Sector New York. Sorry, I think I lost. My district is home to Coast Guard Sector New York. And as such, obviously, they are experiencing issues with retention due to cost of living. So you did talk briefly in general about the cost of living issues throughout the country. I wanted to know what your thoughts were in particular as it relates to New York City.
Thank you. I'm very familiar with the location there on Staten Island and the men and women serving at Sector New York. I was a former captain of the port and know from that time that housing, the need for first month, last month rent, and security deposits also stresses families beyond just the overall cost of housing. And we welcome opportunity to look for ways to ease any of those additional requirements that may be imposed locally. But cost of living and affordable housing is certainly acute for our workforce in, in large metropolitan areas and remote locations. We're going to continue to look for ways to ease that burden on families. Thank you.
Additionally, we have a housing project that is expected for Staten Island. I'm sure you're aware also that some of the housing was destroyed in a fire. That funding has been allocated a couple of years ago, actually. We were able to get some supplemental housing funding to make these repairs and modernization, to also, again, for retention, to make sure the Coast Guard's Coasties live in the environment that they should, have the quality of life that they deserve. Admiral Schultz at the last hearing was unable to provide me with a timeline of when they thought construction would begin. I'm hoping that you can do so today, or at minimum make a commitment that you can get that answer and timeline to my office so I can communicate that with those that I represent.
Yep, thank you, and no, I am happy to provide an update. We're funded for phase one of that project was fully funded in 2021, and we will break ground in 2024 for phase one of that project. Phase two also continues, and it was funded in FY 2022, and we're continuing to work with Congress to ensure that we've got funding for phase three, and that we recapitalize those critical housing units there on Staten Island.
Well, I'm happy to help you to advocate for that funding. I was happy to work in this last year to deliver for the phase two. If there's anything we can do to move that timeline up, because 2024 is obviously quite some time. This was 2 years ago that this occurred. So we're talking about a 4-year wait period for our Coast Guard to get those housing repairs done. So look forward to speaking with you at another time, and hope we can work together to try to move that timeline up. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I will now recognize Representative Larson.
Thank you, Chair. Commandant, welcome to the committee, and I wanted to ask a question first about the relationship between retention and recruiting. You mentioned that retention is still at record highs, or I forget the term you used, but still the RAND Corporation study found that over time among the grades, especially among representation of racial ethnic minority groups, falls over time. And I'm wondering what the relationship between trying to keep those retention numbers up can ease recruiting on the front end.
Thank you. So first, the good news story. We just onboarded the class of 2026 at the Coast Guard Academy. It's the most diverse class that we've onboarded as an organization. It was nearly 43% women and 38% underrepresented minority males. The challenge now is as those group of young officers come forward, ensuring that we've eliminated barriers for them to continue to serve, so that we retain particularly women and underrepresented minority males at similar retention rates to their majority male counterparts. And we've been working on this for some time now, starting with Admiral Schultz and before him. And so some of the changes that we made 5 years ago as a result of the URM study from RAND and the Women's Retention Study, changes that were implemented have again, over the last 5 years, a 28% increase in retention, particularly women at the E6, E7 level. At the 04 level, it's 375 additional women that we've retained as a result of some of that policy change. And we're going to continue to look at opportunities to improve those retention numbers and ensure that the diversity we bring in up front is still with us as as we approach a 20-year point.
Does that help ease at all the recruiting challenge that you have?
So the recruiting challenge, this is just the basic, and it's primarily, it is an enlisted recruiting issue.
Right. Yeah.
About 80% of the force is enlisted, and so bringing in a non-rate into Cape May so that we can then onward, get them into A school, get them their technical and proficiency and qualifications. They're related but separate at this point. It's really just the competition for talent right now, and recruiting is a person-to-person intensive activity, and we've surged resources to start to address that.
Yeah, thanks. I want to move to housing and the BAH, Basic Housing Allowance. understanding that there is a centralized process within the services for that. What flexibility does the Coast Guard have to adjust basic housing allowance to accommodate housing increases? Especially, we've noted all of our areas, including the Pacific Northwest, has seen housing costs, both for single-family homes as well as multifamily apartment rents increase unlike we've seen probably in the last 30 years.
Yeah, I would welcome the opportunity to work with the committee and Congress on finding ways to, again, eliminate the lag in the system that we've got right now and increase flexibility to ensure that we are meeting needs of families. It's, when you look across just the housing sector writ large in the country, it has been a particularly, challenging time. It's challenging to find homes to rent. It's expensive to find homes to buy. It's particularly acute in some of the remote and coastal communities where we live and work, and would welcome the opportunity to work with you to improve, eliminate that lag time and improve our support to families.
Thanks. Just to go a little local, I want to recognize the great folks in Bellingham, the co-location of at Naval Station Everett of some of your Coast Guard assets. Good folks out in Port Angeles, not my district, but then headed farther south down to Seattle. The Port of Seattle recently approved the lease for, I think, a 6-year temporary lease for Pier 46 to allow to give the Coast Guard time to do its recapitalization there where you're located, including I presume basin dredging. But I think it's a 6-year lease. I just want to kind of make sure we put the oar in the water on this committee as we look at that longer term project that you have. And kind of the obvious question is, I hope 6 years is plenty of time for that recap to occur. Do you see any problems with that?
Thank you. We've announced Polar Security Cutter will be home ported in Seattle. We have work to do to ensure that we've got the depth of water and facilities and pier space there. This is a longer-term investment and need, and would welcome the opportunity to provide a more detailed brief to you and your staff on what our needs will be in Seattle as we move forward with the Polar Security Cutters.
That's great. I've talked to folks locally, and we can do that. Just want to be sure that we're tracking this over time so that the timing of the lease matches the timing of the ability for you to get your work done both in the water and pier side, as well as for the buildings that need to get rebuilt and built. Thanks. I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Next, I'd like to recognize Mr. Weber. I don't know if he's come back. We'll move on to the distinguished gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank you for holding this hearing today. I also want to associate myself with your opening comments, Mr. Chairman. And I would add that we also support our coasties and their families when we protect them against threats, both external and internal to the service. Admiral Fagan, let me say congratulations on your appointment to serve as Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. You've had a stellar, impeccable, admirable career in uniform, and I have complete confidence that you'll provide the leadership that the Coast Guard needs at this moment. One of my priorities on both this committee and on the House Armed Services Committee has been rooting out extremism in our military. I firmly believe that we have to ensure that our military has the appropriate tools and authorities to do just that. Last year, I asked Commandant Schultz about extremism in the Coast Guard during the budget hearing, and he committed to accountability from the Coast Guard, but didn't give a definitive answer when it came to membership in a domestic extremist organization being cause for removal from the Coast Guard. And some things have changed, certainly at the DOD regarding that. My question for you is, Commandant Fagan, is it your understanding that membership in a domestic extremist organization should be cause for removal from the Coast Guard? And if not, what would you consider to be cause for removal from the Coast Guard for someone who manifests an affiliation with an extremist organization?
Thank you. Extremism and hate behavior has no place in the Coast Guard. It's inconsistent with our core values and does not contribute to the kind of culture that we pride ourselves in as an organization. I am committed to eliminating extremism and hate behavior in the organization. Where we've had reports of that, we fully investigate that activity and behavior using our Coast Guard investigative services. We've also recently updated some of our hate speech and activities behavior. I remain committed to where we have found substantiated evidence of hate activity and extremism that will ensure full accountability for those members. I don't have specific numbers right now with regard to how many investigations we have done, but I have confidence in our system to ensure that that activity that's inconsistent with our core values will not be tolerated within the organization.
Thank you. Let me follow up. Does your confidence extend to the quality of counter domestic extremism training that is currently required of your enlisted and officer personnel each year?
So we have moved to require that training, and that also helps to ensure that, again, we're appropriately investigating and following through with those reports. And I remain committed to ensuring that we keep that training is current, and that those who are required to access it are, so that we are fairly and transparently conducting investigations into, again, activity that's inconsistent with our core values.
Thank you, because some would say that we're spending too much time on counter extremism training in our services, and I couldn't disagree more with that opinion. I have a statement. I was going to ask another question. I know I'll run out of time. Perhaps you can follow up with a written response. 2020 DHS Inspector General report identified 16 allegations of race-based harassment involving cadets at the Coast Guard Academy. At the time, the IG found that Academy officials were aware of the incidents and had sufficient information to investigate and address the incidents, but failed to take action. So if you could respond to the committee in writing, what is the Coast Guard doing to address racism at the Academy and foster an environment of inclusiveness? My last 25 seconds, Mr. Chairman, it's a sort of a personal, shameless request. Commandant Fagan, I wish I were there in person. Even if I were, I couldn't presume what our interaction would be like. This is my last year in Congress. I would hope to have earned a challenge coin from you. So I hope that over the next few weeks, we'll find a time to get together, and maybe you'll consider my service in Congress worthy enough where I can receive one of your challenge coins. And I actually make that request on a 30-year veteran of the Coast Guard, a good friend who I served with in the Army, and then finished her career in the Coast Guard. So hopefully I can do her that favor.
Thank you, Congressman. I welcome the opportunity to find you and give you a challenge coin, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Just a reminder, to get that service coin, you got to be in person. So hoping you come to the next
Mr.
hearing.
Chairman, I will meet with the Commandant wherever, whenever.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Brown, I'll invite you to come to the Gulf Coast of Texas, to Galveston, because I'm going to invite the Commandant down there. And we want you to both come there and spend lots of money. So anyway, Commandant, Admiral, good to see you. And we appreciate you being there. Couple of questions I have for you. I think with your exchange between Representative Gibbs, you said there was 105 involuntary discharges. Was that the number because of the refusal to take the vaccine?
It was 107 involuntary separations.
107, okay. Have you been able to track the number of COVID infections or those who contracted COVID in the Coast Guard during the same time period?
We have kept track of the number of COVID-positive infections, particularly early on in the pandemic. We were particularly focused on ensuring that we continued to have a ready force and meet our operational requirements, particularly as it pertained to large ships and other missions in our waterways. I don't have the number offhand of what our current infection rate may be, but we continue to focus on ensuring that we've got a ready workforce and that we're able to operate the Coast Guard for the American public.
If you don't mind, I'd like to get that number from you at some point going forward, just as a comparative analysis. In other words, how many did we let go, and how many actually in the Guard contracted the actual virus? Be interesting to know. And then I do actually want to tell you about my congressional district 14, which is the Texas Gulf Coast, starting at Louisiana's border and moving on down. We've got those first 4 counties. They're Jefferson County, a tiny part of Chambers County. We've got all of Galveston County, and then the southern half of Missouri County. We've got actually 6 ports.
You froze, Mr.
And,
Weber. There you
I
go.
froze.
You're back.
Am I there? Okay. So I don't know how much you heard, Mr. Chairman or Admiral Fagan, but
If you could repeat it, that would be great. We'll give
Okay.
you an extra 30 seconds there.
Thank you. We've got 6 ports, more than a member of Congress, and we've got several Coast Guard facilities. And I'd like to get you to come down to the district and maybe tour some of those. My last living uncle, he's 90 years old, was a coastie for either 2 or 4 years around the Korean wartime. So we love our coasties. Of course, we have facilities. And maybe I should ask you, Admiral, where are you stationed?
So I'm currently stationed in Washington, D.C., but I've done a tour of duty in New Orleans. I've been to Mobile, and I'd certainly welcome the opportunity to visit some of our great units in Texas with you at a future opportunity.
Sure. Well, let's do that. I just want to say welcome. We're glad you're there. I appreciate your service, just like we appreciate my uncle's service. We appreciate all the coasties' service. And so sometime maybe we can reach out to the office, and if we can get you down into the district, we can get you some of the best seafood in the country. And we'd love to tour those facilities. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weber. Next, I'll go to Representative Auchincloss.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Admiral, on your historic appointment. Coast Guard mission excellence depends on a technically skilled workforce and experienced leadership, and those foundational characteristics are cultivated long before commissioning. In my first term, I've focused much of my time on improving support and resources for student mental health, including the health of constituents and midshipmen at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I've had the privilege to work with families at the Merchant Marine Academy in Massachusetts. Unfortunately, some of that work was to ensure that their children's careers would not be delayed because of the 2021 sea year pause following disturbing reports of abuse suffered by these student mariners. I appreciate that the Academy has worked to ensure that students affected by the pause won't have their graduation rates delayed while simultaneously enacting policies to protect current and future mariners. What outreach is the Coast Guard doing to cultivate interest in merchant marine academies?
We obviously have a role in merchant mariner credentialing and licensing, and we work collaboratively with the other merchant service academies, whether they're state-run or the federal academy at Kings Point, and remain committed to that team to ensure that we've got the right capacity to field mariners as a nation, and we've got a very rich and ongoing conversations with each of those maritime academies to ensure that that's occurring.
These midshipmen graduate with a U.S. Coast Guard license. What are you doing to recruit talent and retain these midshipmen after they graduate?
So again, our role is in credentialing those mariners. We do each year, particularly from Kings Point. We will directly commission some of the Kings Point graduates, into the Coast Guard, and just continue to collaborate and work with that academy to ensure that, the professional standards required for a license are met. And again, just a great partnership that we've got with Kings Point from an academic perspective.
Admiral, I also want to give you some time to comment on more broadly and I know you gave this some details in your opening statement, but what you're doing to recruit from a talent pool that has been diminished by the physical readiness of American youth and also by a tight labor market, which has historically always been challenging for military and Coast Guard recruitment. In case you didn't get to some of the details you wanted to get to in your opening remarks, I want to give you the floor for these final 2 minutes.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about our recruiting efforts. As I've shared, right, the good news story is it's not a retention issue. And so we have increased our resourcing, additional recruiters, 15. We've taken folks that were previously qualified as recruiters and redirected them into the recruiting work, which is, I've got a sense of urgency around now. We need to begin to draw that talent pool in. We're fielding mobile applications and looking for every opportunity to speed the process from initial contact to actual arrival at Cape May as we work through the medical and physical readiness standpoint. We find once people understand who we are and they have a propensity to serve, they are very enthusiastic about the opportunity to join and stay in the service. But we're using all aspects of the organization to get after the recruiting challenge.
Understood. And I'll close by saying I'm a strong supporter of the Coast Guard. I've been regretful that I have not been able to support to date the U.S. Coast Guard authorization because of the amendment to it that impedes offshore wind development along the eastern seaboard and indeed throughout the United States. President Biden has an audacious, ambitious goal to hit 30 gigawatts of clean energy by 2030 from offshore wind. An amendment was added to the U.S. Coast Guard authorization that would derail those efforts, impede economic development and job creation in clean energy in my district, along with countless of other districts throughout the eastern seaboard. And I've had to fight against that short-sighted attempt to thwart clean energy development, but in no way should it be construed as opposition to the Coast Guard itself, of which I remain a strong supporter. And I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Arkansas. I will now recognize Representative Van Drew.
Good morning, and thank you to the Coast Guard Commandant Linda Fagan for being here today and for the House Subcommittee on Coast Guard and Maritime Transportation. Before we go on, I have some remarks I hadn't planned on saying, but just hearing the discussion that just ensued a couple of minutes ago, there are concerns about the wind turbines. There are concerns about the Coast Guard and how it's going to be able to work in and around them. There are concerns with the ocean floor and what it's going to do to the environment. There's concerns with tourism and how it's going to affect tourism itself. There are a great number of concerns about, there's only going to be a certain number of years that these turbines are actually going to last, and then what's going to happen after that. There are concerns with the amount of money that these turbines are going to cost the taxpayers when they pay their utility bills. This is a difficult issue, and it's a challenging issue. I think we assume too much when we assume that we should just go forward full speed ahead and that this is a perfect answer. It is not. And there are certainly some issues that are very grave and very serious. The fishermen, large commercial fishermen in the area that bring in huge amounts of money and jobs and entrepreneurial endeavor are very concerned about it as well. So I just wanted to point that out because it's a real big deal and not everybody is on the same page with this issue, which makes life fun for you, I guess. Admiral Fagan, congratulations for your historic confirmation as Commandant. You have worked assignments across the world and in every part of the Coast Guard over your 37 years of service. Hard to believe. You don't look it. Your confirmation is well-deserved, and I can tell you that you have hit the ground running and that we're proud of you. Today's hearing is about enhancing personnel resources to support a stronger, more resilient Coast Guard. As a representative of the U.S. Coast Guard Training Center, Cape May, I am deeply sympathetic to the personnel challenges facing the Coast Guard. Foremost, I think it is important that the Coast Guard maintain a clear and a focused posture on its maritime safety and national security responsibilities. Adventures in social activism have set other armed services back in recruitment, and I hope the Coast Guard avoids such pitfalls. They're not necessary or beneficial. To improve personnel recruitment and retention, we must support Coast Guard service members from beginning to end, starting with the recruitment and training, continuing through service, and even in retirement. We must support our service members every step of the way. I worked closely with the Coast Guard leadership to secure $55 million in funding for Phase 1, as you know, of the Training Center Cape May Barracks recapitalization. This project will expand capacity and improve training quality at the Coast Guard's premier training facility, which is in Cape May. Our work at the Training Center is the foundation for the next generation of Coast Guard members. Modernizing Training Center Cape May is a critical pillar of improving recruitment and retention in the Coast Guard at the front end, but we must do more to support the Coasties throughout all of their service. Congress must find solutions to the housing, healthcare, and family support challenges that face the Coast Guard. I hope to work with the Coast Guard to improve quality of life in all those areas. Today, my line of questioning will focus on housing affordability. The Coast Guard operates in coastal communities with a relatively higher cost of living. The Coast Guard does provide a cost of living adjustment benefit, which is a taxable supplement allowance designed to offset higher prices in the highest cost location. This program is currently available to 6,000 service members across the United States. I have consistently heard from my Coasties stationed in my district that they struggle to find housing fully covered by their allowance. As you know, Cape May is a very expensive area. Some service members live over an hour away from their station due to a lack of affordable housing options. It seems that the current cost of living assistance program is possibly not meeting the needs of Coast Guard service members. Can you share any plans that you might have that the Coast Guard is working on to address the affordable housing within the service? What action might this committee take to address these growing concerns? And again, because I know I'm not going to have any time left, I'm done speaking and I yield back, but I am so proud of all of you. I am proud of the work you do. I'm proud of what you represent. I am proud of the way that you handle yourselves.
Representative Andrew, you're out of time. I'm going to let Admiral Fagan answer your question briefly, but if she wants to provide a more extensive response, I'm going to ask her to do that in writing. But you might want to shorten that preamble before your questions in the future, Mr. Vandrew. With that, Admiral Fagan.
I would have. I didn't know we were going to have that other little bit there, so I'm sorry.
Thank you, and to be brief, I welcome the opportunity to work with you on the issue of housing and housing affordability. And while it is acute in Cape May, New Jersey, we're experiencing challenges around the country. And would also just like to say thank you. We appreciate your enduring support, the enduring support of this committee. You know, Cape May is the birthplace of the enlisted workforce, and we're excited to see the opportunity to begin updating and modernizing the buildings there at that training facility. So thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Commandant. That concludes our hearing for today. I would like to thank our witness for your testimony. I ask unanimous consent that the record of today's hearing remain open until such time as our witnesses have provided answers to any question that may be submitted to them in writing. I also ask unanimous consent that the record remain open for 15 days for additional comment and information submitted by members or witnesses to be included in the record of today's hearing. Without objection, so ordered, the subcommittee stands adjourned.